Say it. Oh, oh, Jesus. Well, I'm videotaping, so you'll be able to get the cards and stuff again, okay? All right. Okay, so we have algebraic properties first. That was the first card that we did. On the back of that card, we said that they were characteristics in the way equations and expressions look. Okay? That was our first card, algebraic properties. Our second card that we did yesterday was commutative property. And with commutative property, there are two types of commutative property. This one's the first one. We did addition. And we said that the commutative property of addition is where you're using addition and you're changing the order of the numbers. So over here, 5a is first, and then over here, 5a is second. So when you're changing the order of the numbers or terms and you're using addition, this is commutative property of addition. The next one is commutative property of multiplication. You're using multiplication this time, and the order of the numbers are changing. Okay, so over here it's 4 times 2 times 8, but over here it's 2 times 4 times 8. Remember, the answer is going to be the same on both sides, no matter which number you're multiplying first. With multiplication, it doesn't matter about the order, the answer is still going to be the same. Hence is the reason why you do not have commutative property. There's no such thing as commutative property of subtraction, and there's no such thing as commutative property of addition. Of division. It's only multiplication and addition. Associative property was the next one that we did. Associative property of addition is where we're using addition, okay? And you're changing the grouping this time. Okay, so associative property of addition is where you're using addition and you're changing the grouping of the numbers. So over here, you're going to add 1 and 2 first, and then over here in a group, you're going to add 7 and 2. Okay, so the grouping changed. The order stayed exactly the same, the groups changed. With associative property of multiplication, you're using multiplication, all multiplication, and the grouping changes. Again, the grouping is going to change. Over here, you're multiplying 4b and 11c first, and then you're going to multiply the 3. But over here, you're going to multiply 11c and 3 first, and then multiply the 4b. The order did not change in associative property. The grouping changed. This is associative property of multiplication. This is new card now. Let's do this. It's distributive property. This is what's going to be on the front of the card. Distributive property. On the back side of the card, distributive property looks like this. And you don't have to write all of the examples. You can just write this one. But distributive property is where you have a number or a term on the outside of the parentheses. And you're going to take this number or term and multiply it times all the numbers that are in the parentheses. So you're going to take 5 and multiply it times this x, which gives me 5 times x. Whatever operation that is, you just keep it in the middle. It could be a plus sign or it could be subtraction. This one happens to be a plus. Then you're going to multiply this 5 times this y. So now what you have is 5y. This is distributive property. You don't have to write down all the examples. You at least need one. So this is when you multiply a number times the number or terms in the parentheses. The next card is the additive inverse property. This is where we're going to multiply a number. We're going to add a number by its opposite. This is the front side of the card, additive inverse property. On the back of the card, it looks like this, where you're going to add a number to its opposite. So positive 7 plus a negative 7, and your answer is going to be 0. A negative a plus a positive a, no matter whatever a is, the answer is still going to be 0. So when you add the inverses, or another word for inverse could be opposite, of a number together, the answer is going to be 0. The back side of the card looks like this. You only need to write one of the examples. If you want to write them all, that's fine. But you only really need one. So you have 3. The reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. When you multiply 3 times its reciprocal, the answer is going to be 1. Anytime you multiply a number times its reciprocal, the answer is going to be 1. So over here is the explanation. When you multiply by the reciprocal of a number, the answer is 1. Multiplicative identity property, or its nickname is the 1 property. Multiplicative identity property, its nickname is the 1 property. Sometimes you'll see this and sometimes you'll see that. They mean the same thing. Okay? On the back side of the card, looks like this. Anytime you multiply 1 times a number, the answer is going to give you that number. So -7 times 1, the answer is -7. 1 times 3, the answer is 3. So when you multiply 1 times the number or term, the answer is going to be that number or term. The additive identity property, another name for that is zero property of addition. On the back of the card, it looks like this. Anytime you add 0 to a number or term, the answer is that number or term. So when you add 0 to any number, the answer is 0. The answer is that number. I don't like the way I said that. Sorry, y'all. I said the same thing twice. When you add 0 to any number or term, the answer is that number or term. Zero property of multiplication. On the back of the card, it looks like this. Anytime you multiply 0 times a number, the answer is just going to be 0. Addition, property of equality. On the back side of the card, it looks like this. When you have an equation, anytime that you add the same number on both sides, same number or term, that is called the addition property of equality. When you take the same number or the same variable and you add it to both sides of the equal sign, that is called the addition property of equality. The last card is subtraction property of equality. Subtraction property of equality. The back side of the card looks like this. When you have an equation and you subtract the same number or term on both sides of the equal sign, that is called the subtraction property of equality.